This was the night she disappeared back on October 2nd, 2018.
Her car was still parked outside. That is the first thing her mother noticed. Not that something was wrong, not that anyone was missing, just the car, sitting there, exactly where it always was, which meant Kierra was home, which meant everything was fine, except Kierra was not answering her phone, which was unusual, but not alarming, not yet. So Karen called again and again, and by the time the silence had stretched long enough to become something other than coincidence, she went to the building herself, knocked on the door, waited, knocked again. Nothing. She tried the car. Kierra's purse was on the seat. Her packed lunch was on the seat. Her phone. Everything she would have taken if she had chosen to go somewhere, sitting in a locked car outside a building where nobody was answering the door. Karen Phillips stood on that Chicago sidewalk and felt something shift inside her that has never fully shifted back. Something had happened to her daughter. She did not know what. She did not know when. She did not know who. 7 years later, she still doesn't. Today we are going to Chicago's South Side. We are going to walk every hour of the 2nd of October 2018, and we are going to ask a question that one of the city's most experienced homicide detectives has been sitting with ever since. What happened to Kierra Coles in the 60 minutes nobody can account for? Before we go to that night, before we look at the footage and the timeline and the question that has no answer, you need to know who Kierra was, not the case, not the file number. Her. Kierra Coles was born on the 24th of September, 1992. She grew up in Chicago's South Side, in Chatham, a neighborhood with deep roots and real community, the kind of place where people show up for each other. She was her mother's daughter in every way that mattered. Warm, dependable, the kind of woman who called just to talk, who remembered things, who showed up. She had built something real for herself. A federal career with the United States Postal Service, letter carrier, Southside routes, out in all weather, every day, the kind of job that requires a person to be exactly where they said they would be at exactly the time they said they would be there. And Kierra always was. That matters. Remember that detail. Because this whole story turns, in part, on what it means when a woman who is always exactly where she is supposed to be suddenly isn't. In the autumn of 2018, Kierra had something else, something that had softened the edges of her days and given her mornings a different weight. She was 3 months pregnant. She had been shopping for baby supplies. She had been calling her mother with updates that Karen has described every time she has been asked, with the same single word, happy. Kierra was happy. That was the afternoon of the 2nd of October 2018, a Tuesday. The last day anyone who loved her heard her voice. The morning of the 2nd of October started with something small and strange. Kierra called in sick to her postal route. That is not unusual on its own. People call in sick. Except the camera outside her apartment building on South Vernon Avenue caught something that her family and her union representative and the investigators who later reviewed it have never fully explained. That morning, despite the sick call, despite the day off, Kierra Coles walked out of her building in her full Postal Service uniform. Not casual clothes, not dressed for errands. Her uniform, complete, as though she was going to work anyway. Her union representative said it publicly and without hesitation. Calling out sick and then leaving in uniform is quite out of the ordinary. So here is the first question, and it is one that nobody has answered in 7 years. Who made that sick call? Was it Kierra? Did she call in and then change her mind? Did she intend to go to work and then not go? Or did someone else make that call from her phone with her account details, while she had no idea her shift had been canceled for her? Nobody knows. Hold that question, because there are more coming. The rest of that Tuesday looked on the surface completely normal. Kierra spent the afternoon the way a woman 3 months pregnant with her first child spends an afternoon, shopping for baby things, coming home, putting groceries away, settling in. She called her mother. They talked. The conversation was warm and easy and full of the particular happiness that belongs to women who are becoming mothers. Karen Phillips has described that phone call the same way every single time someone has asked her about it. Her daughter was content, excited, looking forward. That was somewhere in the mid-afternoon. After that, the footage begins. A neighbor's camera, Kierra's building, the early evening, a figure leaving with her, not alone, and here is where the story slows down. Because the figure leaving with Kierra that evening is the detail that investigators have circled for 7 years. The name attached to that figure is known to Chicago police. The relationship between that person and Kierra is documented. The access that person had to her life, her apartment, her car, her routines, was extensive. But something happened when police started asking questions. The answers kept changing. The cameras picked them up again later that night. A 24-hour Walgreens, South Cottage Grove, the ATM just inside the entrance. At 10:43 in the evening, Kierra Coles walked up to that machine. The ATM camera captured her face clearly. She completed a transaction. She walked back out 3 minutes later. Her mother, when investigators told her about that withdrawal, said something immediately. That is not what Kierra does. The amount, the time, the location. None of it fit the woman Karen Phillips had raised. Kierra was careful with money, careful with her routines. Going to an ATM at almost 11 at night to withdraw that kind of cash, that was not Kierra. So, whose idea was it? That is the second question that has never been answered. The cameras watched Kierra leave the store, and then, nothing. No more cameras, no more footage, no more Kierra. Just a silence that has lasted 7 years and counting. What happened in the time between Kierra walking out of that Walgreens and the next piece of footage, which appeared roughly an hour later and contained no sign of Kierra at all, is the locked room at the center of this entire case. Something happened in that gap. Something that Chicago Police Homicide Lieutenant Will Sveeler, a detective who has spent years studying every frame of footage from that night, has spoken about carefully, professionally, and with the specific weight of someone who has looked at the evidence long enough to have an opinion he cannot yet prove. He said he believes whatever happened to Kierra was over in less than an hour. Think about what that means. A senior homicide detective, on record, saying that in his view, the last time the cameras see Kierra Coles, she does not have long left. He did not say who. He did not say where. He did not say how. He said less than an hour, 60 minutes, somewhere between a Walgreens on South Cottage Grove and wherever the cameras stopped watching. That is where Kierra Coles is, in those 60 minutes, in the gap between the last frame and the silence. Right here, right now, I want to stop and sit with you. Because we just reached the part of this story where the weight of it becomes something you feel in your chest rather than just hear with your ears. And if you have been here from the first word, if the question of what happened in those 60 minutes is sitting in you right now, that is exactly why this channel exists. Not to give you easy answers, to sit with the hard questions alongside you. So here's mine for you today. Drop it in the comments. Think about everything we have covered. The uniform, the sick call that may not have been hers, the ATM withdrawal that did not fit who she was, the 60 minutes that a homicide detective believes contained something irreversible. What do you think happened to Kierra Coles? What does your gut tell you? Because in a case this cold, sometimes the people listening see something the people investigating have missed. Please subscribe right now. Hit that notification bell. Because this case just had a major new investigation air on Investigation Discovery in March 2026, and when something breaks, you need to be here for it. Share this video. Because Kierra's mother, Karen, has marched every single year for 7 years carrying her daughter's photograph, the least this channel can do is carry it further. Stay with me. Because the morning after Kierra disappeared, something happened that investigators have never stopped thinking about. And it is the detail that changes everything. The morning of the 3rd of October 2018. Kierra had been missing since the previous night. Her mother had been trying to reach her. Her phone, still in the car. Her purse, still in the car. Her lunch, still in the car. And then the cameras on South Vernon Avenue picked up something. The figure from the previous night, the one who had left with Kierra, the one who had been with her at the Walgreens, came back. In Kierra's car, parked it down the street from her building, not in front, down the street, got out, from the passenger side, went into the building, came out carrying items the footage cannot identify. Walked to a separate vehicle, his own car, which had been parked on that block since the night before, and drove away. A homicide detective watched that sequence and said publicly, "In the totality of what happened the night before, yeah, that is a big deal." When police found Kierra's car after she was reported missing, her purse was inside, her lunch, her phone, her whole life. Left there as if she had simply stepped away for a moment and was about to come back. She did not come back. And when investigators brought the figure from those cameras in for questioning, the story he told did not hold. He had not seen her that night. Then he had seen her, but only briefly. Then the account shifted again. He was not consistent, the detective said, and at some point he decided he was done being inconsistent. He stopped talking altogether, stopped cooperating, and eventually he left Chicago entirely. No arrest was made. Kierra's case was classified as suspended in July of 2020, not closed, suspended. The kind of status that means we have run out of road for now, but the road can reopen. For Karen Phillips, suspended felt like abandonment. She had spent 2 years doing what the system was supposed to do, passing out flyers, organizing searches, knocking on doors, calling the tip lines, showing up. And the system told her it had exhausted what it could do. She did not accept that. She has never accepted that. 7 years of birthdays that Karen Phillips marks with a vigil because there is no other way to mark them. 7 years of marches through Chicago's South Side with Kierra's photograph held at chest height because that is where a mother keeps the thing she cannot put down. 7 years of press conferences and interviews and phone calls to investigators, and any journalist willing to point a camera at a woman who refuses to let the world forget that her daughter existed and mattered and deserves an answer. On the 24th of September 2025, what would have been Kierra's 33rd birthday, her family gathered again. The way they always do, because Karen Phillips does not let a birthday pass in silence. She once said something that I keep returning to every time I go through this case. She said, "I would love to see her with her child." A grandmother who has never held the grandchild who is 3 months away from existing when the cameras last caught Kierra's face at that ATM. A baby who would be 7 years old now, going to school, learning things, being someone. If the 60 minutes between that Walgreens and the silence had gone differently. And in March of 2026, Investigation Discovery aired a new episode of Hunt for the Missing Chicago, specifically re-examining every detail of Kierra's case. Retired Detective Pamela Childs went back through the footage, re-interviewed sources, looked for the leads that might have been missed the first time. The case is suspended. No arrest has been made, but the footage still exists. The timeline still exists. The 60 minutes still have their secret. And somewhere, in a city that has moved on the way cities do, someone knows what is in those 60 minutes. They have known for 7 years. Kierra Coles called her mother the afternoon she disappeared. They talked about the baby, about what was coming, about the particular happiness of a life that is about to change in the best possible way. Then the evening came, and the uniform question nobody answered, and the ATM at 10:43, and the 60 minutes that a homicide detective believes contained something irreversible. And then the car, with everything inside it, sitting on a Chicago street like a sentence that got cut off in the middle. Her mother is still finishing that sentence. Every birthday, every vigil, every interview, every march, she is not going to stop, and neither is this channel. Subscribe. Ring that bell. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think is in those 60 minutes. Tell me what you think about the surveillance footage that exists but cannot yet put someone in handcuffs. Tell me what justice looks like for Kierra 7 years from now if nobody has been charged. Share this video. One share. One more person who hears her name. One more signal sent from Chicago's South Side into a world that should have been listening from day one. We have more cases coming, more signals, more stories that deserve everything we can give them. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next signal.